Hello and welcome to Colred Plays Raid Shadow Legends. I am Colred, and happy Thanksgiving to all of you who are in the United States. And if you don't live in the United States, well, happy Thursday. Now today, I just wanted to give a little holiday present to my viewers in the form of an unkillable clan boss speed tune. Now this speed tune is relatively straightforward. It is full auto. It is affinity friendly for all 4 affinities, and with the right gear and the right champions, this is a good 2-key Ultra Nightmare speed tune. If that sounds interesting to you, stick around. Just a quick reminder, I live stream every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday. We do Takeover Tuesdays at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Tuesdays. On Thursdays, we kind of vary the time a little bit. And obviously today is Thursday and I'm not doing a live stream for the holiday, but you can usually check me out in the early afternoon here on Thursdays. And then on Sundays at 11 a.m. Eastern Time, my editor, Son, and I take out our Lobby accounts for our new Versus Pro series and have a bunch of fun. So please join me for one of those streams. Also, hit the like button for this video, consider joining our Discord community, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Okay, so just a few months ago, there was an excellent fusion, and that was Emic Trunkheart. There have been a lot of great fusions lately, but this particular one is valuable because it added to the very short list of champions that could create unkillable speed tunes for the Demon Lord clan boss. Here's Emic's A3, which places an unkillable buff on all allies for 2 turns, and it is on a 4-turn cooldown. Now, Emic's not going to be able to create the unkillable speed tune by himself, so we're going to use a second unkillable champ to pair with Emic to get this done. Now, the other champion we're going to use here is the OG unkillable, and that is Maneater. Maneater's A3 also gives an unkillable buff for 2 turns. This is on a 5-turn cooldown. But remember that Emic Trunkheart does bring a 1-turn cooldown reduction in his kit. And so that's going to allow us to have this skill on a 4-turn cooldown. And the 2 unkillable buffs are going to cover us all the way through. In addition, the block debuffs here from Maneater's A3 is going to make us completely affinity friendly and full auto. The great thing about this speed tune is you can basically bring in any 3 DPS you want, as long as you don't have any extra turn meter fill or extra turn mechanics. You're going to have a lot of flexibility with the champions that you add to this squad. So let's go ahead and check out the speed tune. Okay, so here I am at deadwoodjedi.com and I have opened the Heart Eater speed tune. And as you can see here, this is Emic and Maneater with 3 DPS. Now in this particular case, the example DPS are all ally attackers. That's one way to get extra damage out of a composition like this, but you don't necessarily need to have any of these 3 particular DPS in order to do a good job with this speed tune. You can see that the speeds here are pretty manageable and you should be able to reach them relatively early in the game. If you did fuse Emic Trunkheart, I'm sure that these speeds should not be a problem for you, but you do need these particular champions. So if you happen to pull these champions from shards, say Emic and Maneater, then maybe you're not quite as far advanced into the game where these speeds will be really easy. But I think anybody, even in the mid game, should be able to maneuver their gear around, or at least farm for a couple of days, maybe get into the forge and get the speeds available. I actually had trouble getting down to these speeds on my main account on some of my DPS. So let's go ahead and jump into the speed tune itself. Okay, here is the speed tune. It is full auto on all affinities and fully affinity friendly. Now the way this speed tune works is that Emic Trunkheart places his unkillable buff, that's his A3, at the bottom of column 1. You can see he always has his A3. He is the blue bar. Emic Trunkheart is the blue bar. He's always got his A3 at the bottom of column 1. That is his unkillable buff. So the entire team will be covered for AoE 1. Now Maneater does the same thing at the bottom of column 2. He puts up his unkillable buff. Again, this is for 2 turns. This is also the block debuffs buff. So because he's putting it up here, he will block the slow from the spirit affinity, so we don't have to worry about that. And then because everybody only goes once in column 3, everybody will have the block debuffs buff and the unkillable buff up for the stun, which means nobody will die and nobody will get stunned. Now it's very important that Maneater does his A3 in column 2 and not Emic Trunkheart. So you can't reverse these two. If you put Emic in the second column and Maneater in the first column, it won't work. Now, other than that, all you have to worry about is not having any turn meter fill mechanics or any extra turn mechanics. You can't use a relentless set with this speed tune, unfortunately, because if anybody goes twice in the third column, they're going to outrun their unkillable buff and potentially die. Now, there is a little flexibility with the speeds, but not a ton. So you can see here we have Emic running at 245, we have Maneater running at 240, and then we have 3 DPS running at 176, 174, and 172. Now, if you just go ahead and plug in any 3 DPS to this team, you've probably got a 3-key Ultra Nightmare right off the bat. As long as you hit these speeds and the champions are built with a decent amount of damage, maybe you have a Poisoner, you could probably even use your starter champion. If you bring in Athel for a weaken, that would be good. If you bring in Kale for poisons, that would be good. Do consider the debuffs. You're going to want to weaken. You might want to decrease defense. You're probably going to want poisons, maybe HP burns. You don't need to worry about a decrease attack. Likewise, you don't need to worry about any other buffs. You don't need to bring in a strengthen. You don't need to bring in an increased defense. Now, when I was looking at this speed tune, I realized that a lot of people may want to run a little bit faster, and maybe, getting 3 DPS down to this speed could be tricky if you're in the late mid game. And so I actually have created a variation of this speed tune on my own, which lets you run one of the DPS at a 4-to-3 ratio. So in order to do that, all you have to do is speed one of these DPS up to about 222. As you can see, this does speed tune. I think you can go a little bit faster. You can go faster. I think the slowest is, in fact, 222, because I think it breaks down here. Yeah, it breaks. So you need to be going at a minimum of 222. And I think you can go up to about 225 or so. So there's a little bit of leeway there with this extra DPS. Now, what you'll notice here is Creela Witch Arm, who is the green bar. She is now starting on turn 6. She's going 4 times to the 3 clan boss turns. And that's going to allow you to get a little bit of extra DPS out. It may also allow you to increase the uptime on debuffs. So if you have somebody who has a 4-turn cooldown that you want on the team, you could potentially put them in this slot where they're running at 222. The important thing to remember here when you change the speeds is that you still have to have Emic at the bottom of column 1, Maneater at the bottom of column 2, and you cannot have anybody go twice in column 3. That will just break the tune and allow you to be killed, basically, because Maneater's unkillable buff won't extend through that stun for everybody. Okay, so I've put together a team on my main account with this exact speed tune. And so I'm going to show that to you now. Okay, and here it is. You can see Emic is in the lead. I do have Ferrican the Fat for some allied attacks. He also brings some poisons, decreased defense, I believe, and an HP burn. Maneater is making the entire team unkillable, along with Emic. Dark Kale is my poison and poisoner and my poison activation champion. He also extends debuffs. And then I brought in Ashma here. Now, Ashma is also a debuff extender and a poisoner, and she's bringing a weaken on her A1. Again, you don't need these 3 particular damage dealers. I think almost any 3 damage dealers are likely to get you a 3-key in Ultra Nightmare. But if you're looking for that 2-key in Ultra Nightmare, you may want to consider the debuffs that you're bringing and the particular champions and how they synergize. You want to make sure that they have pretty good gear. You could add a counterattack champion here instead of an ally attack champion, or maybe you could even fit both into the team. So that is another option for increasing your overall damage. Now, I want to make a quick note here that the only skill change that you have to make in the AI is that Maneater needs to delay his A3 by 1 turn. The way you do that is simply have him open with one of his other skills, and then his A3 is the top priority, so it will go next. Now, if you want to check out Nightmare, you can go ahead and drop down a Nightmare. You'll see that it does, in fact, still speed tune. It takes a little bit extra. And the speeds may matter. It may tune a little bit more quickly or not, depending on the speeds that you're actually running. But you can see here, it does, in fact, tune. And the only thing here that you're going to want to do that's different is you're going to want to make the A3 on Maneater a 2-turn delay. And you can see that makes the A3 end up at the bottom of the second column. Now, because it is a 2-turn delay and it has to be the top priority skill, unfortunately, this can't be full auto on Nightmare you're going to have to manual one additional turn, and then it can be auto the rest of the way. So unfortunately, this is not a quick battle team for Nightmare. Oh, and I almost forgot, you do have to add a delay here to Emic Trunkheart's A3 as well, so that he uses that at the bottom of column 1. Now, you can program that into the AI, or you can manual it. Since you're manualing the Maneater anyway, you probably don't have to worry about the AI. So it's only going to take you to turn 2 to get aligned, and then you can click auto battle and it'll just run all the way through. Okay, so here we are back in the game, and here is the speed tune. Now, I do want to show you a couple of things about the champions in terms of builds. So let's go check out these champions individually. Here is my Emic Trunkheart. He's actually not specifically built for this speed tune in terms of damage or anything like that. He's built in an all-around build. You can see he is in a Guardian set with Immortal as well. But he's just got the speed that he needs, and that's all I really care about. Here is my Maneater. Now, Maneater is important. You want to try to get as much damage out of him as you can. So not only do I have him at the right speed, but I have him with 100% crit rate and over 200% crit damage. He does not need accuracy because you don't really care about his debuff. In fact, if you wanted to leave more space on the debuff bar, you could drop his accuracy even further so he wouldn't land his decrease attack. Here is Dark Kale. You can see he has pretty good attack at around 3,000 attack. He does have 100% crit rate and some pretty good crit damage. He does need accuracy to land all of his debuffs because he's a poisoner and he has poison sensitivity. So you need him over 250 accuracy. Now, I do have some area bonuses. I'll show you those right now. So as you can see, I'm getting a little bit of crit damage, a little bit of accuracy, and a little bit of ignored defense in the Demon Lord battle. So that puts me safely above the 250 accuracy that I need. But typically I try to build the accuracy in anyway. But you do want to remember that if you're struggling with accuracy or even speed, you can potentially manipulate that here. Just make sure that you account for that in the calculator if you're changing the speed. As for Dark Kale's kit, he's actually probably got the most important kit here. He has poison and HP activation on his A1. This is really important because we're going to be filling up the debuff bar of the clan boss all the time, and so we need these activations to help get us extra damage. He does have a decrease attack, which he's going to land, so I can't really avoid that one. And then he's got poisons and poison sensitivity on his A3. One of the things about his A2 that I forgot to mention is that each critical hit has a 100% chance of increasing the duration of all debuffs. That's really important. We're going to extend the life of those poison sensitivities, those poisons, those HP burns, and the weaken. And that's just going to help us do even more damage. I do have him in 3 revenge accessories. That's just to get more opportunities to activate those poisons and HP burns. Now, Ferrokin the Fat is also built for damage here. So you can see he's got almost 37, looks like over 3,700 attack. He does have 100% crit rate and 200% crit damage. He has plenty of accuracy to land all of his debuffs as well. His kit has a decreased defense, which is going to help. We have HP burns and poisons on the A2, and then we have an ally attack on the A3. Now, the ally attack does increase crit rate and crit damage, so I could potentially build my damage dealers with less than 100% crit rate, but in this particular case, they were already built, so I didn't want to reduce their crit rate because I may use them in other places. Okay, so here is Aishma. As you can see, she is level 50, but I brought her in for a few reasons. One, I think she's a very fun clan boss champion. She has a really good kit. But I did also need a weaken. So she has a weaken here on her A2. In addition, she has poisons on her A1. I'm going to want as many poisons as possible because of Dark Kale's activation. And then finally, she also extends the duration of debuffs on the target by 1 turn. So this is also going to extend that weaken, the poison sensitivity, the poisons, and the HP burns. Now, she has no masteries whatsoever, and she would do significantly more damage at level 60 with full masteries, but I just wanted to get her in here, and it was easy to get her to the speed I needed without a banner. So I'm going to use her as my 3rd damage dealer. This is also a little bit to make up for the fact that I have pretty good gear. So if you're not quite where I am gear-wise, but you have 3 level 60 champions, you probably can match my output in terms of damage. All right, now one last thing to note about this particular matchup here is I have 2 magic affinity poisoners and I have a force affinity boss today, unfortunately. That means they will be weak hitting and I will be missing some of my poisons. So this may be a 3-key Ultra Nightmare team, or it may be a 2-key Ultra Nightmare team. I would think it's definitely 2-key against every other affinity, but this is going to be my lowest damage output, unfortunately, but that's just the way things go sometimes. So let's go ahead and fire this up and see how we do. Now, right away, we're going to see that on turn 2, Maneater is going to put up the block debuffs buff, and that's going to make us fully affinity friendly. Also, watch the debuff bar. You can see it filling up quite a bit already. There we go. We blocked the slow. Well, it would have been the slow for the Spirit Affinity, and we're also going to block the stun with the same block debuffs buff. There we go. Now, you can change the skill order of your DPS to try to maximize the effectiveness of their skills as well to increase your damage. I did put Aishma and Dark Kael's debuff extensions on different turns so that it'd be more likely that the debuffs wouldn't come down all of the way. You can see here, we're getting a full 10 debuffs up, no problem. Every time Dark Kael attacks, some of those debuffs come off, some of those poisons get activated. Sometimes the HP burn gets activated. So there will be times where we drop below 10 buffs, but we're going to be close to 10 buffs for most of the fight. And as you can see, those debuff extensions are working really well. We've got that poison sensitivity up for 3 turns right now. The decreased defense is up for 3 turns, and they are unlikely to come down during the fight. I'd like to make sure we get that weaken up because that would be more damage, but we'll have to get Aishma, on the right cycle, because remember, she can weak hit, so that's why we're not getting as many debuffs up as we would normally get. But again, even with 2 weak affinity champions, full debuff bar, and that's the goal here. The damage is not bad. We're looking at about 800k per turn. So at that rate, we would definitely have a 2-key. But if we drop down below 600,000 or 650,000, I think, then that becomes a 3-key. We will get the 50 turns, so that's something you want to think about. All right, so I'm going to let you watch this fight, enjoy it, and I will catch you on the other side. All right, so there we have it. That is a very comfortable 2-key Ultra Nightmare team, full auto. And this was probably the worst affinity for this particular team. So I think really, if you've got Emic and Maneater and you can reach the speeds with any 3 decently built DPS, you're going to get that 3-key Ultra Nightmare. But if you can get up to a 2-key like this is probably going to be a 2-key Ultra Nightmare, a 1-key Nightmare, and a 1-key for Brutal. So with your 4 daily keys, you have access to potentially 6 chests if your clan is clearing all 3 of those difficulty levels. And that is a very nice place to be. I do like the fact that looking at this damage chart, everybody's really contributing to the damage here. You can see how little, though, Aishma does compared to the rest. Even Emic did 5 million, whereas Aishma only did 3.45. So getting her up to 60 and getting her full masteries would probably at least double her damage. I think she'd do more damage than the 6 million that Maneater did. In fact, she should be approaching what Farrakhan does. So we've probably got another 9 or 10 million we could get out of this particular composition. And so, like I said, I do think that there is plenty of leeway here in this team to get a 2-key Ultra Nightmare composition. I hope you enjoyed that speed tune. It is a fairly easy speed tune to put together, so if you have those 2 champions, definitely consider it if you don't already have at least a 2 or 3-key Ultra Nightmare team. And in the spirit of Thanksgiving, I just want to say thank you to all of the viewers out there. The support you've given me over the past 5 or so months has been outstanding. I'm really excited about the direction of Cole Red Plays. and I'm having a lot of fun. I also want to say thank you to my editor, Son. It's been great to be on this journey with him. If you ever get a chance to start an endeavor like this with a good friend, I highly recommend it. And I also want to give a big thank you to my family and friends who've been super supportive, especially my wife, who's just been amazing as I've pursued this kind of new career opportunity that we really didn't know that much about, but she's been absolutely awesome. And in that spirit of Thanksgiving, go ahead in the comments below and let me know what you are thankful for today. Could be something in raid, it could be something in your life, something outside of gaming completely, but it's such a good day to share those kinds of thoughts, and I'd love to hear what you're thankful for. Okay, that is it for me. Happy Thanksgiving, happy Thursday. I've been Colred. Thank you so much for hanging out, and I will see you in another video soon.